Greetings from the Strand Theater of Shelbyville. My name is Hillary Smith, and I'm a junior at Shelbyville High School.
I'm Jessica Cassar, and I'm a senior at SHS.
We're both members of our school's wind ensemble. We were honored to be part of a crew who videotaped interviews of several community members who served in our nation's armed forces and now call Shelby County their home.
This project is part of a grant that our school's band department received from the Indiana Arts Commission. It integrates the videotaped interviews with music written especially for our wind ensemble by some of our friends.
Our wind ensemble rehearsed, then recorded these original band pieces for this project. We also recorded some published patriotic arrangements that are used in this undertaking.
The project will also provide an archival history that outlines what life was like in our community and nation at the time these veterans were serving in the military. We realized that we couldn't possibly interview every veteran who has served our country and returned to our community.
We do, however, want to honor everyone who has dedicated a part of their life for service to our country. We hope this project serves as a reminder for us all to stop and think of people who are serving or who have served our country. This undertaking is our way of showing how grateful we are to all who have served, regardless of the time they spent in the military, their branch of service, or the duty they performed.
We chose ordinary people for this project, people whom you might see every day on the street, in the store, or even here at the Strand Theater. The important part of this endeavor is that we honor those who have served. Prior to this project, we went about our lives knowing that silent heroes live among us, but rarely does anyone acknowledge their service.
Now, we are honored to introduce to you a small sample of some of our community's veterans. We hope you'll take some time to pay respect to some of these silent heroes. It's never too late to say thank you and to learn more about those who helped to make our community a special place to live.
One of the people we interviewed was Jack Warble. Here are some highlights from this interview.
A big part of this project is to learn about our past, so we understand more about ourselves. It also helps us to understand what makes our community special. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Well, I was born in Shelbyville. Actually grew up in Morristown. Went to Morristown grade school and high school. Graduated there. Uncle Sam was looking real hard at me about that time, and rather than go into the Army, I joined the Navy. And there was a few months in between. I worked at International Harvester during that time, and then went into the Navy in February of 1946.
How did your parents feel about your entrance?
They were all right about it. You know, I think they would rather see me go in the Navy than the Army, so it worked out fine.
You said since you've lived in Morristown pretty much your whole life, what brought you to come to Shelby County?
Well, my uncle had an insurance agency and asked if I would be interested in joining that, which I did in December of '47.
What are some of your more special memories of this community?
Well, the Strand Theater and the Alhambra Theater and the Ritz, particularly on Saturday when we had the cowboy shows and the serials to watch. And of course the county fair was always quite special in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
And Ed Taylor's Fish Fry on Vine Street, which you don't know about.
No, I don't. Wish I did. What is this community that makes you so proud to be from here? What is it about here?
Well, I think the community is really interested in preserving their heritage, and I am a board member of the Shelby County Historic Society, and have an interest in seeing that heritage is preserved. And I guess that's my main interest right now.
As you said earlier, you were in the Navy. And can you kind of briefly describe your time in the Navy? You know, what was your training like and some of your major duties, and where did you serve?
Well, I went on board ship and got to go to radio school because I knew how to type. We had a real good typing teacher in Morristown at that time. And so I got to go to radio school in Bainbridge, Maryland, about 12 weeks as I remember, and then went back to the ship as a full-time radio operator. And we when we were underway out on the ocean, North Atlantic, about all the time, we had to have 5 hours on and 5 hours off. And the off time, generally you were sleeping or wasn't much else to do really. And we were an escort ship for the Midway during those months.
So you served here at home in North Atlantic?
North Atlantic.
What was a typical day of fun for you?
In the Navy?
Yeah.
Well, if we were tied up in port somewhere, the fun was going into town. We tied up a lot in Boston, New York, and Norfolk, Virginia, and there was always a lot of good restaurants to go to. And that was, we did go to a couple of amusement parks one time. So we had that kind of fun.
While you were in the service, what was a typical normal day for you?
On board, as I said, it was 5 hours of duty. We had to copy what we call skids, which were 5-letter groups that were in code, and we had to copy them, and then an officer that handled that would run that through a decoder, and they would know what the messages are. And then the captain a lot of time would have messages to send out, and we would do that, and everything was done with Morse code.
So you had to, I'm assuming, become proficient in Morse
Yeah,
code?
you had to copy at least 18 words a minute.
While you were in training, what was a normal day like for you?
In boot camp, get up early and march a lot. I didn't think they did that in the Navy, but they do. And then we had courses, and swimming class, and all that sort of thing.
So it changed dramatically from when you...
Oh yeah, when you got on board ship, the
well,
routine was a lot better.
How was the food while you were around there?
Not too bad, except when we were underway, and seemed like the cook, all he knew how to do was fix clam chowder, and once in a while liver, which wasn't very good on a sour stomach to start with.
What were some important lessons that you take away from your experience in your initial experiences with training?
Well, of course, having learned Morse code and a little bit about radio, it allowed me to get a ham radio license when I got out of the service, which I've pursued ever since. Good hobby.
So what were some of the big fears of the day?
Well, of course, you're always kind of worried about rough seas. Sometimes in the North Atlantic, they got pretty bad. In fact, we operated with the Fox, which was another destroyer, and we were in pretty bad rough seas, and the Fox lost the whole forward gun mount by a wave hitting it, which takes a lot of force to knock a gun mount off. So we worried about the weather, of course. I guess that was probably the biggest worry. I remember one night we slept in the aft part of the ship, and one night we heard things rolling on deck, and there's 2 racks of depth charges on the deck, and we thought for sure one of those had gotten out of the rack and was rolling around, and finally one of the officers got brave enough to go up and look, but it was a garbage can. So we're a little bit worried about that situation.
Killer garbage can. What did you miss most about being away from home while you were in the military?
Family, driving a car, some of those things.
So you had a hot car, I'm assuming?
No, it wasn't very hot, but I had a car.
I would be remiss if I didn't take this opportunity to thank you, sir. It's the little things in life that sometimes make the biggest difference. One of the little things I'd like to say is thank you. Thank you for your service to this country. Thank you for making our community a special place to live. And thank you for the lessons that you taught me tonight